What makes an excellent bug out bag? What should you look for when buying a bug out bag? Well, I'm going to show you right now. I'm also going to show you all the contents of my personal bug out bag so you can see what's in this bad boy. Anyways, I am former CIA officer Jason Hanson, and I've dedicated my life to being prepared. It's kept me out of a lot of jams in life, so I believe you absolutely have to have a bug out bag. You should have one in your house, you should have one in your car, in your office, so you're always prepared. So when it comes to bug out bags, guess what? In my basement, I have a ton of bags that are pieces of junk, that didn't work, that fall apart, that didn't meet my requirements. So I'm going to show you what I believe you should have in a bag, and this bag here meets my requirements, which is obviously why I'm showing to you why I use it. It is made by a company called 3V Gear. I believe their website is 3vgear.com, and this is their Paratus bag. how many ways can you say Paratus? What would you say? Paratus? P-A-R-A-T-U? Paratus. I don't know how you could screw that up, but maybe I just did. So anyway, this is by 3V Gear, the Paratus bag. So here's what I like about this bag. Here's what I believe you need in the bag. First, it should be modular. What do I mean by that? Well, I have these side MOLLE pouches here, and I also have a side MOLLE pouch here. I can remove them if I want to. In my side MOLLE pouches, I keep first aid items. The reason I keep my first aid items in the side MOLLE pouches is because if I'm bleeding out, if something's going horrible, I want to be able to access my first aid items quickly and not have them buried at the bottom of the bag. So in a minute, I'm going to show you exactly what first aid items I have in each of these pouches and what I believe you should have for your own bug out bag. So again, modularity, options to customize it, move things around. Next, right here in the front, they have something what they call a rapid deployment bag. Again, just like the MOLLE pouches on the side, I can remove this thing and take it off. And I also have some first aid items in this part, which I'll show you in a minute. The reason I like this is because, again, you can remove it, you can strap it around your waist if you need to, you can sling it, you can do whatever you want. There is a hike in Zion National Park called the Narrows. I live about an hour from the Narrows. It is my favorite hike in the world. I've done it 8 or 9 times. And when I hike that bad boy, I like to go lightweight. So I like to have a pack like this strapped around me. It is a hike, meaning I'm only doing it for several hours, but I don't want a huge bag. I like to go lean and mean when I'm doing the Narrows hike. If you're ever in Zion, look up the Narrows and do it. Absolutely gorgeous hike. So I like that I have this rapid deployment bag, which I can just take off if I want to. Another reason I like this bag is, of course, it's got other MOLLE on here, so I can hook things. I can do whatever I need to. Has a good handle. I can't tell you how annoying. I've had some cheap handles on bags that I've had in the past. Same thing with padding. Obviously, you got to have good shoulder pads. You want airflow here, comfortable padding up here, which this bag has. And of course, it has a hip belt if I choose to use the hip belt, which when I'm doing long hikes and I'm carrying my bag, which I've done in the past, I absolutely do use my hip belt. And then, of course, this goes across my chest just to help with the weight and distribute the weight, bring everything tighter into me. So those are some of the things, again, why I love this bag, and just so many ways that I can hook things, take apart things, customize things, make it good. Now, I'm going to start showing you stuff in this bag, and you'll see some of the pockets that it has in it because it's got multiple pockets. First, let's start with the first aid pouches, the MOLLE pouches that I said I'd start with. In this side, I have some Quick Clot. This is the, make sure remember which one, the Adventure Medical Kits Trauma Pack. Quick Clot helps stop bleeding fast and something you want to have. So having Quick Clot or some type of clotting agent in your bug out bag, absolute no-brainer. So get something like this if you don't have it. And remember, keep it very accessible. There's nothing else in this pouch right here besides the Quick Clot. That way I can access it quickly. And if I wanted to, I can hang stuff off of here, which I've yet to do, but I probably will because I love gear. I'm sure I'll add more. In this side, in this MOLLE pouch, more medical items. First is a tourniquet. Definitely have a tourniquet. This is the Combat Application Tourniquet, the CAT tourniquet. Great tourniquet. You can put it on one-handed. They also have the SWAT T tourniquet if you wanted to get another one. But if you're going to get the SWAT T tourniquet, have it as a backup, meaning absolutely have a CAT tourniquet first and then have a SWAT T tourniquet in addition to it. What's more in here, I have, let me make sure you can see it. This is the Israeli bandage. So the emergency rescue bandage. That is another important medical item that I believe you should have in your bug out bag. And every time I start talking about medical items, people like fall asleep. It's the least sexiest thing in the world. I get it, but it's important. Once we start going in here, you'll see quote unquote unquote more sexy items. So let me put these back in my pouches. All right, then right here we have the rapid deployment pack, as I mentioned, and I do have more medical items in here. So I'll just show this. This is a mini first aid kit that I have in there. And so this just has bandages, some pads, just a bunch of small stuff that you can see there, compressed gauze. So let me zip that bad boy back up, and we'll go to the next pocket in there. And then this pocket, I have an even bigger first aid kit. Well, not much bigger. Listen, I've got 7 kids, and they are always needing some kind of Band-Aid or some kind of gauze, so that's why I have so much. This one has first aid stuff, but it also has like the emergency Mylar blankets, has a chest seal, some important stuff in there. And then I have, as that falls out, let me put it back in. Then I have a bandana in here. I have multiple bandanas because, of course, bandanas you can use for a million things. You can use them to block the sun. You can use them if you, heaven forbid, you're having to filter water using it. You can use it if you had to tie something up or tie somebody up. So have bandanas, not a bad idea. Let me shove my bandanas and my first aid kit back in there. Okay, now get that zipped up. All right, good. I'm gonna strap that back in so it doesn't go anywhere. Now we're going to, we'll start with this pocket, okay? Like I said, lots of pockets in this bag, which is why I like it. Now, do I want to start with this pocket? Yeah, we'll start with this pocket. This is a saw. I'm trying to think. This is the folding saw by some company. Reason I like this is, what if I have to build a shelter? What if there's something blocking me, something blocking the road that I need to saw through? This thing is actually quite sharp and is a great folding saw, so don't underestimate it. I've cut down some decent sized limbs with this, some, decent sized trees, and it does a very good job. So something you may want to add to your bug out bag. These are no particular order, by the way, but my goal for you watching this video is, 1, to know what kind of bag to look for. So, what should I look for when I'm buying a bug out bag? And 2, even if you find one item in this bag where you're like, hey, I never thought of that, I'm going to add that to my supply list. Well, my goal is accomplished. So these are no particular order. This is a mess kit. Obviously, I have some survival food in here. So let me open it. This is just a small mess kit, nothing fancy. But being that I'm a Boy Scout, that's when I got my first mess kit in the Scouts. And of course, I've had many since then. Like I said, nothing fancy. So not a whole lot in here. You don't need a whole lot. I need a bowl. I need something I can throw over to the fire, cook my food, a little cup to drink out of. So very, very simple, non-fancy mess kit, but it will get the job done. I have flares. Maybe you need to signal somebody. Maybe you need to use them for what they're made for. Hey, I'm in a car accident. I want people to run over me. Or maybe you need to start a fire with it. So road flares are rather inexpensive. Don't take up a ton of space. I have those in the bag. Next, just one of my many knives. This is the knock knife. This is a fixed blade knife that is actually not available to the public at the moment, but great knife, carbon fiber handles, AEBL still, but very good fixed blade survival knife that I have in the bag. So I'll put that there. This is Swedish fire still. Definitely need to have multiple ways to start a fire in your bug out bag. Swedish fire still developed for the Swedish military will do it. So this is basically the flint and steel. Does a great job. As you can see, I haven't used it, still in the bag. So we'll put that, and we'll put that over there. Going down the list, this is paracord. Cordage. You gotta have cordage in your bug out bag. Shelters, tying things up. Get the American-made paracord. Do not buy the cheap Chinese paracord. It will fall apart quickly. So make sure when you're buying, it is American-made paracord. Survival food in here. Obviously gotta have survival food. What am I looking at? Caribbean rice and beans. For the best survival food in the world, go to amazingsurvivalfood.com. But have at least some kind of survival food. I like the pouches just because it's an add water type of thing. I can cook it over the fire in my mess kit and have a good meal. I have another cloth. I have another bandana. So just a larger, different bandana in there. I have duct tape. Of course, you need duct tape in your bug out bag. This is one of these emergency bivvies. I almost said bivvy. Bivvies. So heaven forbid you're trapped. It's very cold at night. You got to spend the night up in the mountains. Maybe you're trapped in your vehicle in the winter. These are the Mylar emergency bivvies, which will keep you a heck of a lot warmer, because I have spent the night at the top of the mountain with no sleeping bag, with no blankets. I'm trying to think, with pretty much nothing. No sleeping bag, no blankets, and it's freezing and not a fun time. So have this. or have one of these. These are some of the fire starters. So I can't even, they come in so many different names, but you know, these are the little fire starting tabs where you can actually cook with them or just use it to start a much larger fire. So I have some of the fire starting tabs in here. Let's go to the big bag. Go to the big bag. All right, this big bag of my kit, it has a laptop sleeve and all that kind of stuff. So I do have one of these that I use more on a daily basis, but for the main one I use for my series bug out bag, which is this one, I'm not keeping my laptop in it. Okay, again, no particular order. This, obviously, you gotta have drinking water, but I can boil over it, meaning it's a steel canteen, it's single walled. So if I need to throw this over a fire to purify water, because maybe something happened to my water filter, heaven forbid, well, then I can use this for drinking. I can use this to throw over a fire to purify water. So have some kind, obviously, of container in your bug out bag. This bad boy. This is a kukri. I love it, very large blade. I've actually beat the living daylights out of this thing camping many times. So this can be used for obviously building shelters. I have people I train and they do not use a gun for home defense because they live in apartments or they don't feel comfortable with guns. And some of them use a tomahawk, some of them use a kukri like this. You wouldn't want to be on the wrong end of this bad boy. The last time I used this was when camping, and I used it to push logs around on the fire, meaning we, just pushing logs around. So not for hacking off anybody's arm, thankfully, but have some type of large blade in your bug out bag. That's something obviously important to do. Also have a tomahawk. I have a tomahawk. Well, I had a tomahawk in here. I took it out. It's over there for taking pictures. So have a tomahawk in your bug out bag. I use an ultralight tomahawk, and if you go watch some of my other videos, you'll see it. But ultralight tomahawks are great. You should have one. This is more first aid items, more medical items. I have just a ton of bandages, of gauze in here, large bandages. Unfortunately, we're probably gonna have to use our first aid kits more than I'm gonna use my giant kukri knife kind of thing. So don't skip on the first aid. Not the world's sexiest topic, as I said, but very, very important. I also have, as you can see, I've got the medical shears in there in case you gotta cut clothing. Medical shears are important to have. Let me put that there. All right, this is the Serve filter, a very important water filter I use. I think the website is survservefilter.com. I don't know. But anyways, so definitely have a quality water filter in your bug out bag. That is, again, one of the definite must-haves, no-brainers. In case you got to filter water, I would rather have a water filter like this, which will filter hundreds of gallons, than having to boil water over a fire. Okay, let's see what else we got. Tube tent. Very basic standard tube tent. All I'm trying to do is keep the water off me. That's it. So a very simple shelter. You do not need anything fancy. Of course, I would build a lean-to if I was stuck somewhere where I had access to, I was in the woods and I had branches and all that. But again, I'm just trying to keep myself dry, so a very simple, lightweight tube tent is something you should have in your bug out bag. Just more survival food. Which one is this one? Caribbean rice and beans. I've got 2 Caribbean rice and beans. Apparently, I need to change that. When it comes to starting fire, I said have multiple ways. I also believe in keeping it easy. So I've got, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Bic lighters. So yes, I have a Swedish fire still, which I can certainly use, but I'm gonna take the path of least resistance first. I'm gonna make it easy. I'm gonna go with my Bic lighter if I need to start a fire. And another, I'm missing one, Got more Bic lighters. Say it wouldn't be my kids, it would be my wife who took it for some reason. And then I have matches. So I want multiple ways to start a fire. If there's a life and death crisis situation and I need to keep warm, I need to have food to cook, I need to have water that I boil, I don't want to have any excuses of not being able to start a fire. So I've got several matches in here. So I've got the matches, I've got the lighter, I've got the Swedish fire still, I've got the fire cubes in here, multiple ways to start a fire. Frog Togs poncho. There are many gazillion poncho makers out there. This is just one of them. I said it earlier, you want to stay dry. So if you're in a crisis situation, you want to have morale as high as possible in a very difficult situation. And obviously being wet, being soaking, being freezing, that hurts morale. So buy a simple, lightweight poncho and have that. This is just some athletic tape in case you got to tape something up or sprain an ankle, whatever it is. So athletic tape in there. I have a good old spork. So if I've got to eat my survival food down here. I want a spork. I want something decent. It's not super cheap and not gonna fall apart. And that is what that is. This is Chloroflock. This is used by the military. This is another water purification method. This is the powder. And the way you use the powder, the directions are on the back, but it's, you know, you get your water, you put it in your canteen or whatever you have, you pour in a packet of the powder, you wait it, let it sit for 15 minutes or whatever the exact time is. And then after that time frame, it is safe to eat. So you can buy Chloroflock online. Just a few more things here. Another emergency blanket, the inexpensive Mylar blankets, just another way to keep warm because you don't want to be freezing. I have a knife sharpener in here because I've got knives. So in case I need to keep them sharp, in case I need to use them, I want to have a way to sharpen my knife. This is the fire rope. So fire rope you've probably seen. I can just take strands off of this. Another way to allow me to start a fire quickly. What is that, like 5 or 6 ways now that I have? Just some inexpensive gloves in here. Nothing fancy with these gloves. A flashlight, I was going to say. What the heck am I looking at? A flashlight. So this is one of the hand crank flashlights, so that if I crank it up a bunch, then I can use it and all kind of stuff. So love flashlights. That's pretty much it. So now you have a good idea of what you should have in a bug out bag. Now you have a good idea of what you need to buy when you're looking for the actual bag itself. Like I said, this is my favorite bug out bag in the world by far. Talking to a guy who has a million crappy bags he doesn't use. So if you want this bug out bag, check out 3V Gear. Again, I'm pretty sure it's just 3vgear.com. And that is it. So add some stuff to your bug out bag if you don't have this. I am former CIA officer Jason Hanson. I want to make sure you're safe. I want to make sure you're prepared, and having this stuff will give you that peace of mind so that you're head and shoulders above the average man. All right, I'm out of here. God bless you.